You are tuning in to the Human Side of Engineering and Product Development podcast, brought to you by Saratech, where we bring you industry leaders and some of the brightest minds in engineering solutions and product development. I'm Andy Dio, your host. Join me as we discover the inspiring stories of the people behind the most innovative and game-changing solutions in the market today. So tune in and enjoy. Good morning, everyone. This is your host, Andy Dio. Our guest today is Isabel Sanz-Ananos from HP. And Isabel, how are you today?
Hi, Andy. I'm doing good, and I have to congratulate you for the pronunciation of my last name. Very well done.
Well, I think I took one semester of Spanish in high school, so that kind of stuck with me.
Good.
Thanks. So, thank you so much for being on our podcast today. You and I had worked together before. You were one of our guest speakers at a 3D printing seminar that we hosted a few years back. And I was so impressed with your presentation and the materials and the information that was presented. So I'm so excited that you are able to join us today or join me today. So we can have a little bit longer conversation and talk about some of the things that you're doing. So welcome.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today, Andy.
All right. So I did some research on you, and you are a big supporter of STEM, right? Which helps drive interest in technology in young people and kids. Do you remember what drove your interest in technology and 3D printing when you were younger?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I initially started with interest related to maths and physics because those were the subjects at the school that were interesting me the most. I was good at them. And that is one of the main reasons why I wanted to continue my education in that field. So I went to the university. I graduated as a mechanical engineer. And it was basically coming from the professors and the teachers that I had at the school, high school, and a couple of references that I had in my family as well related to that. But I knew that I wanted to do something that was related to maths and physics.
I see.
And mechanical engineer was a very good match between all of that and something practical as well, because I didn't want to be on a very theoretical job or career afterwards.
I see. And you mentioned you had some influence from your family. Was that from father, mother, brothers? Did you have engineers and technical people in your family?
I have an uncle that is a mechanical engineer as well. So he was one of my reference, but also my dad, he's a professor of math.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm not sure if it's related to that, but it happened to be aligned at the end of the day.
I see. Were your parents ever, from coming from my point of view, my parents never really pushed me and say, hey, you have to be this, you have to be that. A lot of parents say, you have to study to be a doctor or engineers or, something like that. Did you ever get any pressures or anything like that from your parents that, hey, we want you to be an engineer or in tech or in math or anything like that?
Not really. So my parents were very supportive of me continuing my education, but they never forced me or pushed me into a specific direction. So it was like something that I figured out based on the things I'd like, the areas and the type of jobs that I wanted to get in the future. And looking backwards, actually, I think it was a very good idea. And I'm also very big ambassador in STEM, and especially for women in engineering, because it's one of the things that in the society, there is a hidden force that is like actually not enabling a lot of women to move into this type of careers because it's not well seen, because they do not have reference. And like seeing all of that, once I've gone all of this path, I really want to like help them to understand that this is an option that is very valid for them, that they can be great studying any of the STEM careers, and and that they can add a lot of value and a lot of new ideas and innovation into the field. So we need more engineers in general, and we need more women in engineers as well in particular.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, there's absolutely a gender gap in our industry and in our field, in engineering, and especially in 3D printing, I think. So I think what you're doing is very important, and we need to get more kids in general, but women to be more interested in engineering. So I'm very happy to hear that you're involved not just with STEM, but in women in 3D printing. And I know you do some mentoring as well in the women in 3D printing.
Yes, that's right. I'm mentoring one person today that is studying a PhD. And the idea behind all of that is, again, to create the reference, to create the network of support for women to help them to become successful in everything that is related to the STEM fields. And I'm very happy to be part of that and helping the new generations. But it's also about education and providing visibility at a very early age as well at the school. So one of the things that are being done in regular basis, and I've participated on as well, is, for example, connecting with the schools with kids that are in the age somewhere between 10 to 15 to give them the option to understand that this is something that they can do as well, no? And which are the different types of outcomes and the projects that they can be part of, which can be very exciting. And it's something that probably is opening some minds in terms of considering these new possibilities.
Yes, I think it's very important to have a mentor or people that you can look up to and see that, hey, maybe I can do that too. A lot of time kids don't have that opportunity. So I really applaud you for being so involved in that aspect of helping kids and children, be more interested in science, right?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So I saw that one of the people that you follow is Sarah Blakely, which is founder of Spanx. I listened to her podcast recently, and it is such an inspiring story. For those who don't know what Spanx is, it's a line of women's, I guess, support clothing. That they're much more than that now. But basically, Sarah started out bootstrapping from her kitchen, and now have grown that business into $1 billion company. Really incredible story, full of determination, hard work, innovation. It's easy to see why, you and other people are inspired by her story. Who else do you recall from either early in your career or in your studies that also inspired you or have had a positive impact on you as being where you are today?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. So for me, it's very important that I'm working in organizations and in projects that are aligned with my values. And I value inspiration, the creativity, to be able to really challenge the status quo and move things forward. And I think 3D printing is basically all about that, and how it can help on top of it with sustainability, with other of the problems, waste management, for example, that we have today in the world. So as part of the journey in 3D printing, for example, I had a couple of examples of leaders in the organization that I was really applauding because of their integrity, their honesty, their transparency, and also their willingness to really help the customers and really help the society in the type of things we wanted to do. So I think when you have a vision that is really beyond reaching a specific financial goal, but really looking after how this can make an impact in your community, in your society, is when you can really push the status quo, create that innovation and creativity that is moving the things forward. And this is the type of examples and reference that I'm looking at. Yeah, this is an example in Spanx, but there are many companies today that are really moving into that direction. And it's going to be very exciting to see how the world is going to look like 5 years from now, because we do have a lot of different challenges, including anything that has to do with sustainability, with the waste management, with climate change. And there are a lot of entrepreneurs, young generation. It doesn't matter the age really, but people that is really trying to solve those issues, and you have to solve them probably with ways that we haven't developed yet. No, so we need to really innovate on all of those spaces.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you turn on the TVs nowadays and you watch the news, you think the world's coming to an end, right? It's all doom and gloom, but there are so many positive things out there. And being in industry, I get excited because there are new innovations that happens every day, and there are really smart people that I get to talk to, like you, and associate with. So I'm really appreciative of that. Can you share with us what are some of the cool things that you doing today at HP?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there are some things I cannot share, but
Sure, of course.
But I can tell you a couple of examples that have gone public in the past years, which I think are very telling of the type of innovations and the type of things that you can achieve with 3D printing. So in the past couple of years, I've been working with a company that is called Sync. They are a producer of high-end speakers and pretty much competitors of Bose, for example, or any of the companies that produce these high-end speakers. And they had an idea where they really wanted to improve the quality of the sound of those speakers. And the way to achieve that was through a redesign of the structure and the channels that are conducting the audio to the outside. And it turned out that geometry was something that you could not really design with any previous manufacturing technology. So you really had to use 3D printing, a new technology, in order to make that happen. So that was a very interesting project because they were really taking the best out of the technology that was available for them. And they really designed a piece that was unique and was able to really produce a breakthrough in terms of the audio quality in that space. So that's been a very interesting project. Yeah, probably one of the highlights of the past years. I think it's also remarkable as well, all the work that we did related to the COVID response and all the shortage that we had in terms of PPE in the United States and also in other countries. So in that case, it was very clear that the supply chain was broken. We didn't have the option to get this additional protective equipment from other countries. And then we had to figure out how we can produce this internally and regionally. And within HP, what we did is that we set up different working groups where we developed a design for face shields, a design for swabs in a matter of days, weeks at the most. And then we were able to really produce through the partners and the network that we had both in the US and Canada in the order of hundreds of thousands of face shields and millions of swabs. So it was really an effort that had a very direct impact in the society, and we were able to really close that gap in terms of the supply chain that had been created. So when I think about 3D printing, right now we do have a lot of new opportunities, because if you really think and reflect about what has happened in the couple of years, we have really seen that we need to strengthen the supply chains that we have today. And 3D printing can be a key component on how we rethink all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. It was so incredible. I remember during the height of COVID, how HP got involved along with other partners to really 3D print protective shields and equipment for our frontline people. It was really inspiring, and that's when I really get excited about the things that we do, right? Because sometimes you don't get to see the real impact of what you do. But when you see something like that, when it's evident, it's when I get really proud being in the industry that we're in.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, thinking about examples on that direction as well, I think it's very telling all the new advances and all the new types of products and enhance of performance that you can achieve in 3D printing in the medical space. So we have several companies that we are working with that are producing, for example, prosthetics or surgical guides that with 3D printing, they can really be customized for each of their patients. So this is something that they were not able to provide without this technology, and is benefiting the patients. So for example, in the case of the surgical guide, they are going to be able to perform a surgery in a much more accurate way, more efficient, less time. So it's really enhancing all of the experience of the patient, because the recovery, for example, is going to be shorter thanks to that. And then in the case of the prosthetic, this is something that someone is going to wear in a regular basis. So if it can be more comfortable, you can like really improve the quality of life of each of these patients. And this is like really something that is unique for 3D printing.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Now, I also have seen some crazy things, and by crazy thing, I mean Hollywood versions of 3D printing. I've seen movie when, people print things in minutes that are, realistic, or copies of metal. What are some misconceptions that you see out there about 3D printing technology today, and that we need to make sure people understand? No, it's not like the movies. It doesn't quite really work like that. This is how 3D printing actually works.
Yeah, there are many misconceptions, I have to say. I think we will need a full podcast talking only about that. But yeah, like the things that come to mind very quickly, it's for sure the speed, I would say, because when any 3D printing technology is showcased in a movie, it goes very fast. The reality is not really like that. And then related to that is also that commonly when someone thinks about 3D printing, they think about a desktop FDM printer. So fused deposition material. Yeah. This is the low end, let's say, in terms of what you are able to achieve with 3D printing. And there are many more technologies that are able to produce very unique things and that have actually a very good fit in different spaces. Yeah, for example, in the case of HP technology that is powder based, you can get like something that is very strong in comparison to something that has been produced with one of these desktop FDM printers, and it's going to be as well, it's going to have a better surface quality. Mm-hmm. So 3D printing is not only a single thing. There are many technologies that are related to that. I think this is the first myth we need to make sure that everyone understands. And then the second thing is that it's not only about how fast you are able to produce a part, because it is a batch process. So it's about how many parts you can print in a period of time. Because here it's not about the time to part, but more about the production and the run rate that you are able to have with the equipment.
Yeah, exactly. Now, one of the things that I saw about you on your profile I was really impressed is you actually own 6 patents. So are they all related to 3D printing, and how does that even come about? Is it like all of a sudden you were working on something, you're like, you know what, here are some things that people have never thought of, or how does that process even work? Can you kind of walk me through that, because that's very interesting to me?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started my career actually in the R&D lab for large format printers in HP. Mm-hmm. And there what I was doing in a day-to-day is to design components and systems that we were going to implement in the new products. So as part of this new product introduction, there's always a component of innovation. And yeah, I do have some patents that are coming from that time when I was working on that. I was mainly in the space of the cutters inside the large format printers. So how you can cut the pages, or how to make sure that you can get a full bleed. Well, there's a full world into the printing, but all of those patents are related to these new components, features that we introduce in those products. So that's from that time. And then when I moved into 3D, I also participated in different innovation initiatives. So in HP, for example, there's normally an ongoing innovation campaign where you can submit ideas, and I work on defining how to do, for example, calibrations or identifying the material through different types of sensors. And some of those patents are related to all of that exploration. And then moving forward at the end, now it's coming to mind, but at the end of the day, so anything that you are doing new that is solving a problem that there was not a solution in the past is something that you can patent. And as we are actually in a field where there are a lot of things that we are creating from scratch, I would say that there's a lot of opportunity of new things to be invented and patented. And this is pretty much the reason why I've been developing this type of patents, because when you are working on these new problems that you are solving, there is new knowledge that you are generating, and these are intellectual property that you can protect as well that way.
That's great. It's amazing. I've always been trying to come up with some new idea or something new. Maybe you can inspire me to come up with some great cool idea where I can make $1 billion.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say that in terms of the innovation process, there's a lot that you can get out of a brainstorming. So we can brainstorm one day.
Sure. And
it's a lot about collaboration as well, I would say. So it's important that at the end, it's very unlikely that you do something only alone. So you normally are innovating with some work colleagues and some people that is improving your idea and refining your idea as you go.
Absolutely. One of the big conversation that is happening right now in our industry is digital transformation, right? Everyone, especially now, post-COVID, the working environment is so much different. You have people more diverse, more dispersed all over. Collaboration, as you mentioned, is important. So digital transformation is one of the key tenets of what a company will try to achieve. How does 3D printing fit into the digital transformation process, you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a very good question, because digital transformation, it can be about a lot of different things. And there's definitely an opportunity there in terms of the supply chain and the manufacturing processes. So when we think about 3D printing and digital transformation, it's going to be about that. So how you move from a traditional technology into a digital technology. So it's the movement from analog to digital. And traditional technologies can be things like, for example, injection molding, CNC machining, sheet metal, any of the processes that we are using today. And there is an advantage of using this digital manufacturing, because you do not need to have that tool that is going to manufacture that product. And you do not need to plan for all of that time before you have it ready to go. So the digital process is going to be much easier in terms of how you can really print unique types of parts and then do that in an ongoing basis, which is something that you were not able to do in the past. And this is something that is really going to create new business models. And we do already have examples of that today. So if we think about the Smile Direct, so they are a company that is manufacturing these clear aligners. They are producing in 3D each of those molds. And each of those molds that they print are unique for each of those patients. So there is like really no way to do that in a scalable way if it's not with 3D printing.
Right.
And this is just an example that is very established today. But as we move forward with all of this digital transformation, we are going to see more and more of that. We do have, for example, a couple of use cases in the automotive industry with BMW, where they had some parts that customers could customize, and they could change the color or the pattern or add their name on them. And they were printing those with 3D. So all of these new things and new ways to add value to the customers and create new type of businesses is something that is going to be like really enabled with 3D printing. And it's one of the exciting things of being part of this industry, that is like really pushing the limits and the boundaries of what you can manufacture today and how that is going to look like in the future. And the future is pretty much now. So it's not something that is 20 years away. It's like 2, 3, 5 years. We are already having a lot of conversations with different companies that are really looking into scaling 3D printing in their production and at volume. So it's just a matter of time, of like a few years of like really having this exponential growth in the industry.
Yeah, I mean, from looking back, it seems like the past decade, we really saw 3D printing or additive manufacturing grew by leaps and bounds. I mean, the technology advancement and everything that's involved with that industry really exploded. So I'm like you. I'm really excited to see what's coming next. Right? Do you have any what innovations or what things do you see coming down in the horizon? In the horizon in 3D printing, not necessarily things that you are currently working on, but just in general, the industry. What are some of the things that you see that are coming that we should be looking out for?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are a couple of spaces, and yeah, I'm pretty much working on both of them, but I think those are like very, very interesting nevertheless. So one of them is the electric vehicles and all the ecosystem that is going to enable that. So if you think about the automotive industry is changing, like it's going to have a major changes that are actually ongoing in the next years. And just thinking about electric vehicles, there are more than 30 companies in the US that are going to introduce products in the next years. All of those are new product lines, and all of those will require a set of new components that have to be designed as we speak. So we really have an opportunity to capitalize on that and really add value to all of these vehicles or different parts of the ecosystem using 3D printing. So like right now, one of the things or one of the angles that we are exploring is like really engage with these companies and have those conversations in order to make this happen. And it's not only about the final vehicle, but also the manufacturing setup. So there, pretty much every month there's an announcement of a new factory that is going to be built in the US producing electric batteries. So all of that again is going to be new, and we do have an opportunity to really rethink all of the manufacturing aids that are going to be used in those factories. And 3D printing can add some additional value. So really being part of that conversation can bring a lot of new opportunities and open a new space for us as an industry.
Yeah, that's exciting for sure. I think definitely my next car is going to be an electric vehicle. Hopefully something that can drive itself, so I don't have to worry about driving anymore. So
yeah, that's another conversation as well. Yeah.
So obviously, one of the things that you do is you engage with companies and customers and take a look at what they're doing, and you help them to innovate and improve their product development process and incorporating 3D printing technology into what they're doing. So for companies that are not yet looking at 3D printing as part of their process, what's your advice? What should they be thinking about or looking at in terms of, hey, should we do this? Is this something that we should really invest in? What's your advice to those type of companies?
Mm-hmm. I think the first thing is about education and getting exposure of what is available out there. So yeah, definitely go to events, for example, that are related to additive manufacturing to like see which are the use cases and how other companies are using that today, or participate on webinars. There are like normally ongoing webinars about like different topics and different industries as well, in particular, that can relate more to each of the companies, for example, in industrial or the healthcare sector, and then also train their workforce. So right now, many universities in the US are offering additive manufacturing classes that are explaining how to design for additive. Because if you want to like really introduce additive manufacturing, it's not only about taking a part that you have designed for another process and print it with 3D. You can probably do that, but it's not going to be the best solution because that part has been already designed for something else. So if you really want to push the boundaries, like the example of zinc that we were mentioning before, you can like totally redesign and reconsider your concept to create something that can probably add some additional benefits that you didn't think about because you didn't know that that was possible. So that's why education is so important, because it really opens and changes the mindset of what is possible to be done.
Absolutely. No, great advice.
Yeah. And we can help with all of that, definitely. So that's what we are here to do.
Now, Isabel, I know I've taken a lot of your time today already. Such a great conversation. I really appreciate you taking time to join me today on our podcast. Great discussion about technology, about education, about the state of our industry. I do really appreciate your time. And hopefully you and I can have another deep dive conversation on some of the other topics that we didn't have a chance to get into.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a pleasure to have this conversation with you today, Andy. And yeah, looking forward to the next one. I'm more than happy to do it.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.